Picture this. You are standing on a muddy field in 9th century England, the air thick with the smell of wet earth, sweat, and a coppery tang of fear that catches in the back of your throat. A horn bellows, a deep, mournful sound that seems to shake the very ground beneath your feet. And then you hear it, a low, rhythmic chant that grows into a deafening, unified roar. It's the sound of 100 men screaming in unison, not in wild, chaotic rage, but with a terrifying, disciplined rhythm. Through the morning mist, a wall of wood and steel is advancing towards you. It's not an army of individuals. It's a single, bristling entity. A human tank covered in round, brightly painted shields that overlap like the scales of a dragon. This is the Viking shield wall, the Skjaldborg, and everything you think you know about Viking combat is a lie. The heroic, one-on-one duels. The bare-chested berserkers swinging 2 axes. The glorious charges across an open field. That is all a fantasy. A fiction created for television screens. The reality is a claustrophobic, brutal, and systematic meat grinder. And if you were standing on that field, you would not die a hero's death. You would die instantly, crushed, stabbed, and trampled into the mud, a forgotten casualty in a battle that was never about you. Before we shatter the myths and step into the true, terrifying chaos of a Viking battle, if you are fascinated by the brutal realities that hide behind history's greatest legends, consider subscribing for more content that strips away the fantasy to reveal the truth. And please comment below to let me know where you're listening from. It's a powerful thought that we are exploring this violent ancient world together, from the safety of our modern one. What you are about to hear is not a celebration of Viking prowess. It is a clinical dissection of a killing machine. It's an explanation of why the Viking way of war was so terrifyingly effective, and why the romantic image of the lone warrior is the single most dangerous misconception you could possibly have. We must first address the most famous and most misunderstood figure in the Viking arsenal, the berserker. Popular culture has painted them as the ultimate Viking warrior, a shirtless, wild-eyed madman, biting his shield and feeling no pain as he carves a path through his enemies. The truth, as always, is far more complex and far less cinematic. Berserkers did exist, but they were not the core of any Viking army. They were a terrifying anomaly, a psychological weapon to be deployed with care. Think of them not as soldiers, but as a form of ancient shock and awe. Their role was to create terror and chaos before the main battle lines met. They were the ones sent out to howl, to foam at the mouth, to perform a theatre of insane rage that would unnerve and demoralize their opponents. But once the shield walls locked together, a berserker's wild, uncontrolled frenzy would be a liability, not an asset. The shield wall depended on absolute discipline, on holding your position, on working as a single cohesive unit. A man wildly swinging 2 axes would create gaps in the formation, endangering not only himself, but every man standing next to him. The real Viking warrior, the man who won the battles, was not the berserker. He was a professional, a pragmatist. He was well-equipped, disciplined, and his greatest strength was not his individual rage, but his unwavering trust in the man standing to his left and the man standing to his right. His real strength was the wall, the Skjaldborg. This was the heart of the Viking battle strategy, and it was far more sophisticated than just a line of men holding shields. Imagine a wall made of 3-foot-wide round shields, each one held so that its edge overlapped with his neighbors. The first rank would create an almost impenetrable barrier of wood and iron. Behind them, a second and third rank would add their weight, their bodies pressing forward, turning the entire formation into a human bulldozer. This was not a static defensive line. It was an offensive weapon designed to grind forward relentlessly, to literally push the enemy off the field. To stand in that wall was to be subsumed into something larger than yourself. You were not a warrior. You were a single, replaceable scale on the hide of a great beast. Your individual skill with a sword or an axe was secondary to your ability to hold your place, to push when you were told to push, to trust that the man next to you would not falter. There was no room for heroes here. There was only room for the wall. Now imagine the moment of impact. The 2 walls, yours and theirs, collide with a sound like a thunderclap. A sickening crunch of wood splintering, iron rims smashing, and men grunting as the breath is forced from their lungs. This is not a charge. It is a scrum, a monstrous, violent shove. The pressure is immense, a physical force that threatens to crush your ribs. The men behind you are pushing you forward, while the men in front of you are pushing back. The air is driven from your lungs. You can't move backward. You can't step to the side. Your entire world has shrunk to the few inches of space in front of you, to the enemy shield pressed hard against your own. The noise is a physical assault, a deafening cacophony of screams, guttural war cries, and the constant, percussive drumming of weapons hammering against the shields. You can't see anything beyond the small gaps in the wall, fleeting glimpses of a snarling face, a wild eye, a weapon's blade. The first deaths are anonymous and ugly. Men stumble and are immediately trampled under the feet of the ranks behind them, their screams lost in the din. Others are crushed to death by the sheer, suffocating pressure of the two formations grinding against each other. Before a single significant blow has even been landed, the battle has already claimed its first victims, not through skill or valor, but through the brutal, impersonal physics of the shield wall. You have survived the initial collision, but your ordeal has only just begun. The real killing is about to start, and it will happen at point-blank range in the suffocating press of the wall. You are now inside the machine. The world outside the wall has ceased to exist. Your reality is the splintered wood of your own shield digging into your forearm, the sweat stinging your eyes, and the deafening, percussive beat of 1,000 weapons hammering on wood. The pressure is unrelenting, a constant crushing force. Your shield arm is already screaming in protest, the muscles burning with a fatigue you have never known. But you cannot lower it. To lower it for a fraction of a second is to die. This is the first, brutal lesson of the shield wall. It is a battle of endurance before it is a battle of skill. The real fight is not against the man in front of you. It is against the exhaustion that is flooding your own body. Your brain can't process it all. It is a sensory overload designed to break your mind before your body. The screams are not individual voices. They are a single, continuous roar of aggression and pain. The stench is overpowering, a nauseating cocktail of sweat, mud, blood, and the primal metallic scent of raw fear. And now, the killing begins in earnest. But it is not what you expect. There are no heroic swings of a sword, no mighty cleaves of an axe. There is no room. There is no space for heroism. There is only the point. From above your head, from over the top of your own shield wall, spear points begin to appear. The men in the second and third ranks behind you are using their greater reach, turning the front line into a deadly, bristling porcupine. They are not aiming for dramatic killing blows. They are aiming for anything they can reach. A face peering over a shield, a hand gripping a weapon, an unprotected ankle. These are not glorious wounds. They are vicious, pragmatic, and designed to disable. A man in the enemy line screams as a spear tip punches through his cheek. He stumbles, and for a heartbeat his shield wavers. That is all it takes. In that instant, the man to your right, a grizzled veteran with dead eyes, does not swing his axe. He uses it like a tool. He thrusts the blade forward into the tiny gap, hooking the curved beard of the axe over the top edge of the screaming man's shield. He then pulls back with all his weight. The effect is instantaneous and horrific. The enemy's shield is ripped downwards, exposing his entire upper body for a fraction of a second. He has no time to scream again. The Viking standing in the second rank behind your neighbor, a man you cannot even see, has been waiting for this exact moment. His spear, 8 feet of ash wood and iron, darts forward with piston-like speed, taking the exposed man in the throat. There is a wet, gurgling sound. The man pitches forward, his dead weight now an obstacle that his own side must struggle to push out of the way. You have just witnessed a perfect, coordinated kill. A microsecond of brutal teamwork between two men who may not have even exchanged a word. This is not a duel, it is an industrial process. The man on your right did not kill the enemy. He simply opened the door. The man behind him was the one who delivered the blow. You realize with a cold, sickening dread that you are not just fighting the man in front of you. You are fighting the man behind him and the man behind him, a forest of iron-tipped death that can strike from anywhere, at any time. Your focus is now entirely on the small world defined by the rim of your shield. You learn to read the battle not in grand movements, but in tiny flickering signs. You watch the enemy's feet, waiting for a shift in weight that might signal an attack. You watch the eyes through the gaps, looking for the telltale widening that precedes a thrust. You are no longer thinking about glory or honor. You are thinking only about survival, about the next second and the second after that. A sword blade, not swung but jabbed like a rapier, darts under your shield, aimed for your thigh. You slam your shield down, trapping the blade for a moment against the mud, and you stab forward with your own short spear into the gap, feeling it thud into the wood of the enemy's shield. This is the rhythm of the battle, a constant, claustrophobic exchange of short, economical and vicious thrusts, all aimed at creating a momentary weakness. Then, the man to your left makes a mistake. He is a young man, his beard barely grown, and for a split second, his exhaustion wins. His shield dips just a few inches. An enemy axe hooks his leg, pulling it out from under him. He falls with a cry, not of pain, but of pure terror, because he knows what comes next. He is not going to be given a chance to get up. He disappears under the feet of the wall. He is gone. And the most terrifying thing happens. The gap he leaves is instantly filled. A man from the second rank, his face grim and emotionless, steps forward, plants his feet, and raises his shield. The wall is whole again. The machine has replaced a broken part without missing a beat. The young man's death was meaningless. It did not weaken the wall. It did not create an opportunity. He was simply consumed, erased. And you know, with an absolute and chilling certainty that if you fall, the same thing will happen. You are not a warrior. You are ammunition. You are fuel for the fire. Your only purpose is to stand, to push, and to not be the next man to make a mistake, until the relentless, grinding pressure of the wall finally breaks the will of the men in front of you. Time has ceased to have meaning. Has it been 10 minutes? An hour? Your world is an eternal repeating loop of shove, block, and stab. Your shield, which felt so sturdy and reliable when you first hoisted it, is now an instrument of torture. It feels impossibly heavy, a slab of lead that is trying to tear your arm from its socket. Every muscle from your shoulder to your fingertips is a single screaming knot of agony. This is the secret, unspoken weapon of the shield wall: attrition. It is designed to find the man whose arm will fail first, whose will is going to crack under the relentless, monotonous pressure. You are in a race to the bottom of your own endurance, and you know, with a terrifying certainty, that you are losing. You see men on the other side, their faces pale and slick with sweat, their shields starting to waver. You see it in your own men too. The shield wall is a living thing, and it is getting tired. Then, a new sound cuts through the monotonous din, a sound that is deeper, heavier, and infinitely more terrifying than the clatter of spears and swords. It is a wet, percussive thwump, like an axe splitting a log. In the enemy line, a man is physically pulled backward by his comrades, and into the space he occupied steps a giant. This man is not like the others. He is huge, a mountain of muscle, and in his hands he holds not a one-handed axe, but a monstrous two-handed Dane axe. The handle is 5 feet long, the blade a huge, bearded crescent of sharpened steel. This is not a shield war weapon. This is a siege engine in human form. He is not there to push or to stab. He is a specialist, a can opener, and his job is to break you. He stands just behind his own front line, protected by their shields, and he waits. He's patient, his eyes scanning your wall, looking for the slightest imperfection. A man 4 places down from you, a veteran with a braided beard, makes a fatal error. He overextends, thrusting his spear too far into a gap. For half a second, the top edge of his shield is exposed and unsupported. The giant with the Dane axe has seen it. He takes 1 step forward, and with a grunt that seems to come from the center of the earth, he brings the axe down in a devastating vertical chop. It is not a swing, it is a leveraged blow, using the full length of the handle and the weight of his entire body. The axe doesn't just hit the shield, it annihilates it. The iron rim is sheared through, the thick wooden planks are split as if they were kindling, and the blade continues its downward path, taking the veteran in the collarbone and burying itself deep in his chest. The man doesn't even have time to cry out. He just collapses, his shield and his body ruined by a single terrifying blow. The sight sends a wave of pure animal terror through your line. This is a weapon designed not just to kill, but to shatter morale. It is a message, delivered in blood and splintered wood. Your wall is not safe. Your protection is an illusion. Your own weapon, a short, broad-bladed sword, feels like a toy in comparison. You have no room to swing it, no space to demonstrate your skill. It has become a crude stabbing tool, an oversized dagger. You hold it in a tight ice-pick grip, your knuckles white, and you search for an opening. You are no longer a warrior. You are an opportunist, a predator looking for a moment of weakness. You see a flash of exposed flesh in the press, a neck unprotected for a fraction of a second. You lunge, a short, vicious jab. You feel the tip grate against something hard, a mail coif perhaps, and slide off. A failed attempt. You see an enemy's leg step too far forward, and you stab downward, aiming for the unarmored thigh. You feel the blade bite into muscle, and you are rewarded with a strangled scream. The man in front of you stumbles, but he doesn't fall. There is nowhere for him to go. He is held upright by the press of his own comrades, his face a mask of agony. He is still a part of the wall, a wounded, bleeding part, but a part nonetheless. You have not killed him. You have just made him angry. The chanting from your own line begins to change. The rhythm becomes deeper, more insistent. It is a signal, a command understood by every man in the wall. The final reserves of energy are being summoned. The push is coming. Your feet dig into the mud, which is now a thick, churned slurry of earth and blood. Your shoulder slams into the back of your shield. The entire formation, from the front rank to the last, surges forward in a single, coordinated, explosive shove. It is a wave of bone-weary but disciplined desperation. The enemy line, already weakened by casualties and exhaustion, groans under the impact. You feel a subtle shift, a giving way. A man in their line slips on the blood-soaked ground and goes down. Then another. A crack appears in their wall. A breach. This is not a moment of triumph. It is the moment of maximum danger. The disciplined, brutal order of the shield wall is about to dissolve into the pure, red chaos of a melee. And in that chaos, your chances of survival have just plummeted. The machine is breaking apart, and you are about to be thrown into the gears. The breach. It is not a glorious, wide-open gate to victory. It is a messy, writhing hole in the fabric of the battle, a maelstrom of flailing limbs and desperate screams. The disciplined geometry of the shield wall, the formation that has kept you alive through the sheer terror of the last hour, has collapsed. The order is gone. There is no line anymore. There is only the churn. This is the phase of the battle that the sagas love to celebrate. The moment of heroic, individual combat. The reality is a frantic, close-quarters brawl where there are no rules and death can come from any direction. You are no longer a cog in a machine. You are an individual again, and you have never felt so vulnerable. You step over the twitching body of the man who fell, your boots sinking into the blood-soaked mud, and you are immediately in a world of pure, sensory violence. A man lunges at you, not with a calculated thrust, but with a wild, desperate swing of a sayax, a long, single-edged knife. He is no longer fighting as part of a unit. He is just a man trying not to die. You parry his clumsy blow with your shield, the impact jarring your already screaming arm, and you shove him hard, sending him stumbling backward into the press of his own routing comrades. There is no time to finish him. To your left, a Viking from your own side, a man with a fearsome tattooed face, is locked in a brutal struggle with an Anglo-Saxon Then. They are too close to swing their weapons effectively. They are wrestling, their hands gripping each other's shield rims, their faces inches apart, snarling like dogs. The Viking slams the iron boss of his shield into the Then's face. There is a sickening crunch of bone, and the Then goes down, blood pouring from his shattered nose. The Viking doesn't even glance at him. His eyes are already scanning for the next threat. This is not a duel. It is a series of brutal, split-second encounters, a frantic dance of survival. You now have room to use your sword, but it is not the elegant weapon of fantasy. It is a heavy, awkward bar of steel. Your arm is so fatigued that every swing is a monumental effort. You are not a swordsman. You are a butcher hacking at whatever presents itself. An enemy soldier, his shield broken, tries to fend you off with his spear shaft. You bat it aside and bring your sword down in a clumsy overhead chop. You are not aiming for his head. You are aiming for his shoulder, for his arm, for anything that will disable him. The blade bites deep into his collarbone. He screams, a high, thin sound that is almost lost in the din. He is out of the fight, but he is not your only problem. You are now surrounded. The clean, two-dimensional line of the shield wall has become a three-dimensional kill zone. An enemy can be in front of you, beside you, even behind you. You are constantly turning, your head on a swivel, your shield held high to protect you from blows you cannot even see. Then you see it, the weapon that is the true king of the Viking battlefield. The axe, not the monstrous Dane axe, but the simple, one-handed bearded axe. In the close, chaotic press of the melee, it is a far more versatile and deadly weapon than a sword. A man rushes you, and you catch his sword on your shield. But he is not trying to break your shield. In a fluid motion, he hooks the beard of his axe over the top of your shield and pulls down, yanking it out of your grip. For a terrifying second, you are completely exposed. Your sword is in your right hand, useless for a close defense. You have no time to think. You can only react. You drop your sword and lunge forward, grabbing the haft of his axe with both hands, trying to wrestle it away from him. Your life now depends on pure brute strength. Your muscles scream in protest. His face is a mask of rage, his teeth bared, his breath hot and foul. He is stronger than you. He is forcing the axe blade closer and closer to your face. You can see the nicks and scratches in the steel. This is how you're going to die. But then a shape appears behind him. It is the tattooed Viking from before. He says nothing. He simply brings his own axe around in a short, brutal, horizontal swing. The blade takes your attacker in the side of the neck. There is a spray of hot blood that covers your face, blinding you for a moment. Your attacker's eyes go wide with a look of profound surprise. His strength vanishes. He collapses, and you are left holding his axe, your hands slick with his blood. The tattooed man gives you a curt nod, a moment of acknowledgement between two survivors, and then he moves on, searching for his next kill. You have just been saved by the brutal, pragmatic teamwork that is the true hallmark of the Viking warrior. There was no shouted warning, no heroic intervention, just a man seeing a problem, his comrade about to die, and solving it in the most efficient way possible. You pick up your fallen sword, your heart hammering against your ribs. You have survived another second. But the chaos is not over. The battle has entered its final and most merciless phase. The enemy is breaking. They are not just being pushed back. They are rooting. And now the real slaughter is about to begin. The moment a shield wall breaks is not a gradual process. It is a catastrophic failure, like a dam bursting. One man panics, throws down his shield and tries to run. His terror is a contagion. The man next to him sees it, and his own resolve shatters. He turns to flee. Suddenly, the entire formation, which had been a disciplined unit just moments before, dissolves into a desperate, scrambling mob of individuals. The organized retreat is impossible. The men in the back, who cannot see that the front has collapsed, are still pushing forward, while the men in the front are trying to scramble backward. The result is a horrific human pileup. Men trip over their own wounded. They stumble, they fall, and they are trampled by their own comrades. The organized, grinding pressure of the battle has been replaced by the panicked, chaotic pressure of a rout. This is the moment every Viking warrior has been waiting for. This is the payoff for the brutal, exhausting work of the shield wall. The hunt is on. Your role in the battle changes instantly and dramatically. You are no longer a defender, a pusher, a part of a static wall. You are now a predator. The exhaustion that had settled deep into your bones is burned away by a surge of pure, predatory adrenaline. You are no longer fighting for survival. You are fighting for profit. Every man you cut down now is one less man who can rally, one less man who can fight another day. But more importantly, every man you kill is a potential source of wealth. His sword, his helmet, the ring on his finger, these are the spoils of war. This is why you are here. This is your salary, paid in blood and iron. The disciplined, emotionless professional of the shield wall gives way to something far more terrifying. The Viking raider. You and the men around you let out a new kind of war cry. Not the rhythmic chant of the advance, but a high-pitched, howling scream of triumph and bloodlust. It is the sound of wolves falling upon a scattered flock of sheep. The pursuit is not a chase across an open field. It is a slaughter in close quarters. The routing enemy is a disorganized mass, their backs turned, their shields discarded. They are no longer soldiers. They are victims. Your movements are no longer the short, economical stabs of the shield wall. You are now taking long strides, swinging your axe or your sword with a brutal efficiency you could not have managed in the press. You are not aiming for disabling wounds anymore. You are aiming to kill. You bring your axe down on the back of a fleeing man's neck. He goes down without a sound. You step over his body and immediately target another. A young soldier, his face a mask of boyish terror, turns and tries to beg for his life. You do not hear him. There is no mercy here. Mercy is a weakness. To let a man live is to risk him picking up a weapon and stabbing you in the back. You cut him down without a second thought. This is the brutal calculus of the Viking Age battle. Exterminate the enemy, or risk being exterminated yourself. The field has become a landscape from a nightmare. The ground is littered with the dead and the dying. The screams of the wounded are a constant, agonizing chorus. You are moving through a world of pure carnage, your senses assaulted by the sights, sounds, and smells of mass slaughter. But you are not repulsed by it. You are energized by it. This is the Viking ethos in its rawest form. To die in battle is a glorious fate, a ticket to Valhalla. To flee, to be cut down from behind, is the ultimate shame. You are not just killing these men. You are, in your own mind, damning them in the afterlife. You are the instrument of a brutal, unforgiving theology. The gods are watching, and they reward the strong. Your victory is a sign of their favor. Your ability to kill without hesitation is a mark of your worth as a warrior. You see a wealthy Thane, his fine mail coat marking him as a high-value target, trying to rally a small group of his household warriors for a last stand. This is a dangerous moment. A cornered animal is at its most ferocious, but your unit, which had been a disciplined wall, is now a fluid, coordinated hunting pack. You do not charge them head-on. You and 3 other Vikings, including the tattooed man who saved your life earlier, instinctively circle them, cutting off their escape. You are not communicating with words, but with nods, with glances, with a shared understanding of predatory tactics that has been honed over years of raiding and fighting together. You are a team, and this is your trade. You attack from all sides at once. The Thegn and his men are overwhelmed in a matter of seconds. The fight is short, brutal, and utterly one-sided. You stand over the body of the Thegn, your chest heaving, not from fear, but from exertion. You have won. The battle is over. But your work is not. The most ghoulish and pragmatic part of the day is about to begin. The killing is done. Now it is time to get paid. The last scream has faded. The sounds of pursuit have died out. A strange, unnatural silence begins to settle over the field. A silence that is somehow louder and more terrible than the chaos it has replaced. It is not a peaceful silence. It is a silence punctuated by the wet, ragged coughing of men choking on their own blood, by the low, continuous moaning of the wounded, and by the final gasping breaths of the dying. The fire of the bloodlust, the ecstatic rage of the hunt, flickers and dies within you, and in its place comes a cold, bone-deep exhaustion that is so profound it feels like a physical weight. The adrenaline that had carried you through the slaughter drains away, leaving you hollowed out, your limbs trembling with a fatigue that is beyond mere muscle tiredness. You lean on the haft of your axe, your breath coming in ragged, painful gasps. For the first time, you are not just seeing the enemy as targets, as obstacles. You are seeing the landscape of what you have done. The field is no longer a battlefield. It is an abattoir. The ground is a carpet of contorted bodies, a grotesque tableau of death. Men lie where they fell, their limbs twisted at unnatural angles, their faces frozen in masks of terror or surprise. The mud is black with blood. It is a scene of such absolute horror that it should break your mind, but it doesn't. You look upon it with the dispassionate eye of a craftsman surveying his work. This is the cost of victory. This is the price of your survival. You feel no remorse, no pity, no horror. You feel only a grim, weary satisfaction. The job is done. Your first action is not to celebrate. It is to take inventory. You run a hand over your own body, checking for wounds you might not have felt in the heat of the battle. A deep gash on your forearm, oozing blood. A bruised rib that sends a sharp, stabbing pain through your chest with every breath. You are lucky. You are alive. Around you, the hunting pack is reassembling. Men are limping back from the pursuit, their faces smeared with a mixture of sweat, mud, and blood. There are no cheers, no backslapping celebrations. There is only a quiet, professional accounting. Men find their shield brothers, the men they stood next to in the wall. A nod, a grunt, a shared drink from a water skin. This is the only acknowledgement needed. The wounded are dealt with a brutal pragmatism. A man with a deep but clean wound in his thigh has another pour ale over it, the alcohol a crude antiseptic, and then binds it tightly with a strip of torn cloth. Another man, his arm shattered and hanging uselessly, is given a piece of wood to bite down on. A friend takes his seax, heats the blade in a hastily built fire until it glows red, and cauterizes the wound to stop the bleeding. The man screams, a muffled, guttural sound, but he will live. The severely wounded, the men with gut wounds or pierced lungs, are given a final drink of water and left to die. There is no time for sentiment. They are already dead. To waste resources on them would be foolish. Then, the real work begins. The stripping of the dead. This is the reason you fought, the tangible profit of your bloody trade. It is a process of methodical, ghoulish efficiency. You and your comrades move across the field, a pack of vultures descending upon the fallen. You work in teams. You grab a body by the arms and legs and roll it over. If he is wearing a mail shirt, it is the first prize. It is worth a small fortune. You unbuckle the straps, or if they are jammed, you simply cut them away and pull the heavy, greasy coat of interlocking rings off the corpse. It is a difficult, laborious process. You take his helmet, his sword, his axe. You cut the pouch from his belt, hoping for a few silver coins. You take the brooch from his cloak, the ring from his finger. If his boots are better than yours, you take those too. You leave him in nothing but his linen undertunic, a pale, stripped thing for the crows to feast on. You do this 12 times, 100 times, until the field is covered in the half-naked bodies of the vanquished. During this process, you come across the enemy wounded. Men who are still alive, their eyes pleading, their hands outstretched, begging for mercy. There is no mercy. You cannot leave an armed, wounded enemy behind you. It is a matter of simple security. You do not waste time or energy. You do not taunt them. You do not hate them. You simply dispatch them. A single economical blow with the butt of your axe. A quick thrust with a spear. It is a chore, like putting down a wounded animal. You move from one to the next, a grim reaper clearing the field of its last vestiges of life. You come across the body of the young man who fell beside you in the shield wall. His face is pale, his eyes staring blankly at the sky. He has been trampled into the mud, his shield broken beneath him. You pause for a moment. You knew his name. He was from your village. You take the small silver amulet from around his neck, something his mother gave him. You will take it home. Then you strip his body of its usable gear, just as you have all the others. His gear is now yours. It will serve the living. This is the Viking way. Grief is a luxury for another time. Survival, and the profit that ensures it, is all that matters now. As the sun begins to set, casting long, bloody shadows across the field of slaughter, the work is finally done. Your ship, your drakkar, which had been beached on the nearby shore, is now laden with the grim harvest of your victory. Heaps of mailcoats, piles of helmets, bundles of swords and spears, all of it is piled high, a dragon's hoard of captured iron. This is your wealth. This is the future. This will be traded for land, for livestock, for silver, for influence. You are not just a warrior. You are a businessman, and today business has been good. You stand on the shore, the cool sea breeze a welcome relief on your sweat-stained, blood-caked skin. You look back at the field. It is a silent, desolate place now, a testament to the brutal, fleeting nature of life. In a few hours, you will be gone. The wolves and the crows will be the only ones left to bear witness to what happened here. You and your shield brothers gather around a crackling bonfire on the beach. The mood is not jubilant. It is quiet, somber, and deeply weary. The adrenaline has long since faded, leaving behind an ache that is more than just physical. It is a soul-deep exhaustion, the price of spending a day in the abattoir of the gods. An older, one-eyed warrior, the leader of your warband, begins to chant a story, a verse from one of the great sagas. His voice is a low, guttural rumble, a counterpoint to the crackle of the flames and the sigh of the waves. He is not chanting about glory or heroism. He is chanting about fate, about the cold, unyielding will of the Norns who spin the threads of every man's life. He is reminding you of the central truth of your existence. You did not survive today because you were the most skilled, or the bravest, or the strongest. You survived because your thread was not yet cut. The young man who died beside you, the veteran who was annihilated by the Dane axe, they were not weaker than you. It was simply their day to die. This belief is the psychological bedrock that allows you to do what you do. It is a philosophy of profound fatalism. If your death is already preordained, then fear is pointless. To hesitate, to cower, to run, these actions will not change your fate. They will only ensure that you die a coward's death. A death that will deny you a seat in the halls of Valhalla. This is why you could stand in the shield wall, shoulder to shoulder with men you knew were about to die, without breaking. It is why you could charge into the chaos of the melee, why you could hunt down fleeing men without a flicker of mercy. You are all just actors in a grand, bloody play, and the script has already been written. Your only choice is to play your part with as much courage and ferocity as you can muster. This is not a philosophy that brings comfort. It brings a cold, hard sense of purpose. It allows you to endure the unendurable. As the fire burns low, you finally allow yourself to think of home. You think of the smell of the wood smoke in your longhouse, of the taste of your wife's stew, of the feel of your child's hand in yours. This is the other side of the Viking warrior, the side that the sagas and the stereotypes so often miss. You are not a mindless killing machine. You are a farmer. You are a fisherman. You are a husband and a father. The raiding, the fighting, the brutal, bloody business of the battlefield. This is not your life. This is your work. It is a seasonal occupation, a dangerous but necessary enterprise to secure the wealth and the land that will allow your family to survive and prosper in a harsh, unforgiving world. The man who stood in the shield wall, the predator who hunted down fleeing men, is a persona, a tool that you pick up when you go a Viking. When you return home, you will put that tool away. You will wash the blood from your hands, and you will become the man your family knows. But you will never truly be the same. You cannot witness a day like today and remain unchanged. You will carry the memory of the screams, the smell of the blood, the weight of the dying, with you forever. It will be there in the quiet moments, in the dead of night. It is the price of your profession. You look around at the faces of your comrades, illuminated by the dying embers of the fire. You see the same hollowness in their eyes that you feel in your own soul. You are a brotherhood, but not one of love or affection. You are a brotherhood of shared trauma, bound together by the terrible things you have seen and done. You are survivors. And tomorrow, the tide will be high. You will push your longship back into the cold, grey sea, and you will sail home, your ship heavy with iron and your hearts heavy with the ghosts of the dead. You have done what you came here to do. You have faced the meat grinder, and you have walked out the other side. You are a Viking, and you know, with a cold, unshakable certainty, that you will do it all again next year, because this is the only way you know how to live. This is the price of a life in the Viking age.